Hello everybody, welcome back, and today we're painting a Warhammer Ultramarine. Let's get right into it. Retro painting? Did I say retro? I don't know. Now the basis of this paint scheme is the aptly named Ultramarine Blue from Army Painter War Paints. And we're going to do a rarity on this channel and actually give him two solid base coats. I hardly ever do this, I usually just like slap chop my minis, but we're actually going to give him two decent coats this time to build up our highlights off of. Now, I've never been a fan of brush painting on highlights. I always usually use a dry brush because I find that it just looks better anyway when I dry brush opposed to me actually trying to hand paint all the highlights. You'll see me utilize that strategy often. And for the highlight color I'm using here, I just mixed up white and some of that ultramarine blue. And after the first dry brushing pass, we're going to make an even lighter blue and dry brush a little bit less to even catch more of the raised areas. After that was done, he was looking pretty cool, but pretty desaturated and pastel-y, so I mixed up a dark blue wash, I think it's this Beowulf blue, and slobbered that all over the model. When you're doing a wash like this, it's really important to not have the paint be too overpowering. You want kind of just the hint of this color. If the paint's too thick, it'll hide all of the little steps we just did before this, so we really want just the essence of the blue to kind of smooth out the rough dry brushing. And after that was done, he was looking pretty good again, but I wanted to add a little more shadow in the recesses, so I selectively put the wash now in the deepest parts of his armor. And after that, I thought he was looking a little too dark, so I decided to give him one last dry brush to bring up his armor, to, bring back that vibrancy. And then I wanted to give his armor a little more texture, so I stippled on some highlight color. And that gave him like a kind of a crunchy kind of texture on his armor. I thought that looked kind of cool, so I went with it. And then I gave him another wash of our ultramarine blue color just to kind of blend those together just a little bit. He was looking a little too chalky. Now for his gold trim, I wanted to go for a non-metallic metal kind of look, and this is actually where I decided to make him a retro marine, because it didn't look gold, it looked more yellowy and more retro, but I kind of like how it turned out. So I'm going to use a dark gold color, a dark brownish yellow, to the base coat. So I mustered the steadiest hand I could to paint these little details, and I still got the yellow paint absolutely everywhere. I'm not the best at controlling the paintbrushes, you'll see. And then we're going to follow up with a highlight of yellow, pretty much just pure yellow, and then just a final hint of white in the raised areas to try and make it look like it's reflecting. But you really want to make sure the white isn't all over the model. Like, you just want the hint of white on this to make it look like it's not white and more just reflecting light. And of course we can't forget to paint his little black areas between his armor, of course. And as at this point I decided to make his helmet and hand red, because that really fits the old aesthetic of Warhammer, the bright saturated colors. Whilst the red dries, we're going to put an off-white kind of grayish tone on his purity seals and face. I do this because I like to work with a darker tone and then we can highlight up, opposed to using like a brighter tone and washing it down. I find that works best with light paints. And now that the red is dry, we're going to dry brush it with like a very hot red, or like kind of like a pink, to bring that saturation up, to bring it to like that 90s Warhammer aesthetic of just upsettingly bright red. But we are going to wash it a little bit with the red just to kind of bring back the saturation, to make it less desaturated. Now I'm going to base coat his hair with a medium shade of brown. And we're also going to wash his face with a flesh tone, like it's Peachy Flesh by Speed Paints, or Army Painter Speed Paint. And while that was still drying, I added a little bit of Satchel Brown, very thin down, and also added that to his face and kind of like mixed it with the wash, and that kind of worked out surprisingly well, actually. And next I attempt yet again to get a plasma glow going on my guns, and I don't really know if this turned out well, but here's what I did. Obviously we want the brightest part of the gun to be pure white, so you highlight all the coils and all like little glowing areas with white. And then I thin that white down and kind of float it all over the gun, trying to make like a glowing kind of effect. And then I glazed a very light green color into the coils, trying to make it like very bright in the coils. And then I glazed a very darker green over that to try and make like the shadows. Kind of. It didn't really work, but that's what I was going for anyway. And now we're going to tackle his base. Trying to go with the theme of the retro hammer here, I went with just the grassy base, the staple of all old models. You'll see them everywhere. It doesn't look particularly good, but that's kind of the goal, is to not make it look good. I don't know why this was everywhere on models in the back in the day, but it just was, I guess. It was the style, it was the trend, it was the fad. And while his base glue was drying, I decided to put on his decals. Yeah, it was a little bit of finessing. I had to make some relief cuts to actually get to sit down flat. I should really invest in some microsole and microset, but one day I'll invest in that, I guess. I also decided to try and give the plasma glow one more crack. They once again didn't really work. I really need to figure out a method to do this. Maybe the airbrush, but me and the airbrush have beef. I also gave his eyes a little glow because I really can't paint eyeballs. I just make them glowing like the Ninja Turtles. And for the base, we obviously have to paint that disgusting shade of green that's on all the bases. This is just a putrid color in my collection, to be honest. Also, you'll see I did not leave the base to dry long enough, and I ended up messing up the glue, and it kind of like mixed with the paint and destroyed my paintbrush. Don't do that. And all that was left to do is glue him down to his base and paint the base rim green. And then, I called him good. I'd like to thank you guys all for watching. Sorry for the late upload. I've been kind of busy the last week and a half. Yeah, if you like what you saw here, though, please do leave a like or comment or subscribe. Everything a little bit helps the algorithm. This was definitely a shorter video because I wasn't building him. I didn't kit bash him or anything, so there wasn't really anything to film in that regard. But yeah, I hope you guys liked it. He definitely looks interesting, I think. I'm not sure if I like him or not yet. Anyway, until I see you in the next one. Toodles!
Thank you for participating in Protocol BF 473A, where we move the operations underground in the event of hostile vital infrastructure. Your day-to-day operations remains the same, and the vital sharing difficulty you work on is approximately